I never thought I'd be the guy writing something like this, but here I am. My name's Jake, and for the last few years I've been married to Lisa. We seemed fine, or at least I thought so. She's a bit of a bitch sometimes, snappy, always quick with an excuse, sneering at my efforts and making me feel like I was never enough. But I figured that was just her personality. We had our routines, our quiet moments, and I honestly thought we were solid. Until recently, when little things started to feel off. It started with small stuff. Lisa would be late coming home more often than usual. She'd dodge questions about where she'd been, tell me she was at work or with friends, but I sensed there was more. She started wearing different clothes, acting more secretive, and whenever I tried to bring up her behavior, she'd brush me off with a sharp remark or a fake laugh. I'd catch her texting someone, quick to hide her phone or turn the screen away. I didn't have proof, but the gut feeling was there, gnawing at me. I also noticed her mood swings. Sometimes she'd be cold, dismissive, almost hostile, and other times she was overly affectionate, almost too eager to make up for something. I'd ask her what was wrong, and she'd roll her eyes, call me paranoid, or tell me I was overthinking. But I was. Something was wrong, and I knew it. It's like a weight slowly settled on me, and I couldn't shake it. I started questioning everything. Was she cheating? Was she lying about her whereabouts? Was she just unhappy? I didn't have concrete proof, but the suspicion kept growing. Then the day came when I decided to check her phone. I know, stupid, invasive, but I was desperate. Something just felt wrong. I waited until she was asleep, grabbed her phone off the nightstand and started scrolling. I wasn't even sure what I was looking for at first, but then I saw a text conversation that made my stomach drop. It was with someone named Mike, and the messages weren't just friendly banter. They were flirty, suggestive, and there were references to meetings, secret texts, and even plans for when they'd see each other next. My hands went cold and I couldn't breathe for a second. That's when I knew Lisa had been cheating on me, with her own therapist no less. I found out she'd been going to this guy, Dr. Carter, for months, supposedly for our family's benefit, to help us deal with my recovery from addiction. How ironic is that? The guy she was supposed to trust to help us heal turned out to be the one she was sneaking around with. I couldn't believe it. I felt sick, angry, betrayed. It was like a punch to the gut, and this was only the beginning. I stared at those messages, trying to process what I'd just uncovered, and a million thoughts raced through my mind. How long has this been going on? Did I mean anything to her? Was she ever really with me, or just using me as a cover? That's when I realized I was caught in something much darker than I ever expected. The first thing I did was sit down and try to breathe. My mind was racing, but I knew I couldn't just lose it in that moment. I had to think carefully about what I was going to do next. I remember staring at her phone, the screen still glowing with those disgusting messages, and feeling this intense mix of fury and heartbreak. How could she do this? How could she betray me, especially when I was vulnerable, trying to get my life back on track? It felt like she'd purposefully used that therapist, her own counselor, to betray me, to get her kicks, to fill some void she clearly had. I didn't wake her up that night. Instead, I stayed awake, staring at her while she slept, her chest rising and falling. I wondered if she had any idea I knew. Did she think I was so naive I wouldn't find out? Or maybe she did, and that was why she was so bitchy and dismissive lately, trying to cover her tracks, hide her shame. I felt betrayal deep in my bones, and it scared me how calm I'd become in that moment, how calculated my thoughts were. I knew I had to confront her, but I wasn't sure when or how. In the morning, I decided to give her a chance to come clean, even though I already knew the truth. I wanted her to tell me herself, to admit everything on her own terms. When she woke up, she looked at me with that insincere smile of hers, the one she always uses to dismiss my concerns. I asked her about her whereabouts the night before, casually at first, pretending I didn't know about the messages. She threw me that sneering look, the one she always saves for when she's annoyed, and said she'd been out with her friend Lisa, who was just a girl from her book club. I nodded, playing along, and then I leaned in and asked, "Lisa, huh? Funny, I saw your messages with a mic. Care to explain?" Her face froze for a moment, then she chuckled, that fake, condescending laugh. "Oh, that's just some guy she's into. You know how women talk. It doesn't mean anything. You're just paranoid, Jake. You're always accusing me of stuff that's not there." Her tone was sharp, her eyes darting away as if she was trying to hide something. I felt my blood boil. I told her I saw the messages, that I knew she'd been lying to me, and asked her what she was doing with her therapist, Dr. Carter. The words felt thick in my mouth, like I was saying something I shouldn't, but I had to. "Get it out." Her reaction was classic Lisa: deflect, deny, lie. She spun some story about how Dr. Carter was just trying to help her decompress, that they'd gotten close because they shared personal struggles, and that I shouldn't jump to conclusions. She called me jealous, insecure, and even accused me of invading her privacy. I wanted to scream at her. How dare she call me insecure when she's cheating behind my back? How could she be so damn arrogant, so full of shit? I held my ground, but inside I was a storm of emotions. I felt betrayed beyond words, and I knew I couldn't stay silent anymore. I had to decide what to do next, but at that moment I was just trying to keep my composure, trying not to break down. After her little speech, I realized I couldn't keep pretending like everything was fine. I told her I knew everything, about the messages, the affair, her lying. She scoffed, rolled her eyes, and threw in some more bullshit about how I was overreacting, that I was jealous, insecure, that she was doing this for us, whatever that meant. Honestly, I was so pissed I couldn't even process her excuses. All I knew was I wasn't going to let her keep lying to my face. I told her I needed some time to think, a lot of it. I went out for a walk, trying to clear my head. It was a sunny day, but it felt like the world was crumbling around me. I replayed everything, the signs, the little things I missed, the times I brushed her off. Now I saw it all clearly. She'd been sneaking around for months, probably longer. She'd been lying, manipulating, gaslighting me like I was some paranoid lunatic. I'd always known she had a bitchy side, but this was a whole new level of betrayal. What hit me hardest was the fact that she'd been pretending to care, pretending to be invested in our relationship while secretly making plans with her therapist to cheat on me. That realization made my stomach turn. I was trying to get sober, trying to fix my life, and she was out there screwing around with someone who was supposed to be helping us. I felt like a complete idiot for trusting her, for thinking she was genuinely interested in making things work. When I came back home, she was sitting on the couch, her legs crossed, looking at me with that bitchy smirk. She was trying to act like she didn't care. I could see the defiance in her eyes, but I didn't care. I was done pretending. I told her I knew she was sleeping with Dr. Carter, that I'd seen the messages, and that I was sick of her lying. Her reaction: she laughed, full of arrogance, and said, "So what? You think I'm going to leave him? He's the only one who understands me. You're just a recovering addict who's too busy feeling sorry for himself." That was it. That's when I felt everything inside me snap. The rage, the heartbreak, the humiliation, it all boiled over. I realized I couldn't keep going down this road. I told her I was done, that I was leaving, and I wasn't coming back until she faced the reality of what she'd done. Her eyes widened for a moment, then she just shrugged like I was some invisible obstacle in her way. But I wasn't about to let her push me around anymore. I grabbed my keys and left, feeling like I was walking into a nightmare I'd never wake up from. That night, I stayed in a friend's place, trying to process everything. The pain was like a heavy weight pressing down on my chest. I kept replaying her sneering face, the lies she spat at me, and the realization that she'd been betraying me while I was trying to rebuild my life. It was hard to sleep, but I knew I couldn't keep going like this. I had to make a decision, whether to fight for the marriage or just cut ties and move on. Honestly, I was leaning toward the latter, especially after I found out she'd been sleeping with her therapist. That was the ultimate betrayal. In the days that followed, I did some serious thinking. I started digging into her phone more, trying to find out how long this had been going on, who else might have been involved. I also started reflecting on our relationship, what it was, what it had become. Deep down, I knew I couldn't trust her anymore, not after all those lies. The more I thought about it, the more I realized that this wasn't just about cheating. It was about her. Using someone who's supposed to help us, manipulate the situation, and betray everything we had. It was disgusting, and I felt sick even considering trying to salvage anything from that. I reached out to my sponsor, told him everything, and he advised me to get legal advice to protect myself and understand my options. That was a huge step. I wasn't just broken emotionally, I was worried about my legal rights. I had no idea how deep her manipulation had gone, how much she'd lied to me about everything, even about the therapy sessions. I started to feel like I was living in a nightmare, like a bad soap opera I couldn't wake up from. And I couldn't shake that feeling of being stupid for trusting her all these years. One thing was clear, I couldn't stay in that house with her, not after what I knew. I also knew I had to confront her again, face her with everything I'd uncovered. But I wasn't ready yet. I wanted to build a plan to figure out how I was going to handle this, especially since I knew Lisa. Her personality would never admit to what she'd done without a fight. She'd probably deny everything, call me crazy, accuse me of blowing things out of proportion. That's her style. But I wasn't going to let her gaslight me again. Not this time. The betrayal ran too deep, and I knew I'd have to be smart if I wanted any shot at coming out of this with some dignity intact. A couple of days went by and I kept my distance, trying to piece everything together. The thing is, I knew I couldn't just go back and pretend it hadn't happened. I had to face her, confront her head on, but I also needed proof, irrefutable, undeniable proof. That's when I decided to dig even deeper into her phone and her messages. I started downloading everything I could find, especially those conversations with Dr. Carter, to show her that I wasn't just speculating. I knew she'd deny everything, call me crazy or paranoid, but I had to be prepared. One afternoon, I managed to get into her email account, which she'd never protected very well because she thought she was so clever. Turns out, she'd been hiding more than just her affair with Dr. Carter. There were emails, calendar entries, even some explicit photos she'd sent him. I felt a punch in the stomach again. She'd gone way beyond the boundaries of therapy. She'd completely crossed into some other fucked up world. All those late nights, her sneering attitude, her dismissive comments, they all now made sense. She'd been caught up in her own little secret life for months, maybe longer. I sat there for a long time, staring at the screen, trying to process what I'd found. It was like staring at the biggest betrayal of my life. She wasn't just cheating on me. She was actively lying and manipulating to keep her secret. I knew I had to do something now, but I was also terrified of what would happen if I confronted her with everything. I was angry, yes, but I was also hurt, so much pain that I felt numb. I kept asking myself, how did I not see it? How did I let her get away with this for so long? That night, I finally decided I was ready. I had the evidence and I knew what I had to do. I called her at work, told her I needed to talk serious, just us. She was dismissive at first, acting like I was overreacting. Again, but I told her I knew everything, that I had all the proof. Her voice was cold and irritated as she tried to deny, but I didn't care anymore. I was done playing her game. I told her I was coming home to gather my things and she better be prepared for what was coming. Whatever reaction she had, I didn't care. I was done being the fool. The guy who trusted the wrong woman, who believed her lies. That betrayal cut deep, but I was finally ready to face it head on. The next day I went back to the house, my mind racing but my resolve firm. I had the evidence, and I knew I couldn't let her manipulate me anymore. When I walked in, she was there, trying to act like everything was normal, but her eyes gave her away. She looked defeated, like she knew she'd finally pushed me too far. I told her I had everything I needed, that I was leaving for good. She looked at me with that bitchy smirk, the one she always used to dismiss my feelings, but this time it was different. There was no charm in it anymore, only contempt. I packed my things, taking only what I needed, knowing I couldn't stay in that house a second longer. As I was about to leave, she tried to throw some last-minute guilt trip, crying fake tears, saying I was overreacting, that I was ruining everything because I was insecure. I just looked at her and said, "You lied, you cheated, and you used your position to betray me. I hope you get whatever you deserve from this. I don't want anything from you anymore." Walking out that door was one of the hardest things I've ever done. It felt like the end of my world, but also like the beginning of something new, something I needed to do to reclaim myself. I felt a strange mixture of relief and heartbreak, but I knew I had made the right choice. I was finally free from her bullshit, her lies, her manipulations. The pain still lingers, but I'm learning to live with it, to accept what's happened and to rebuild from the ashes. Looking back, I realize I learned a lot through this nightmare. Trust is fragile and betrayal cuts deep, but I also learned that I'm stronger than I thought. I can survive this. And I want others to see that no matter how bad it gets, you can come out of it. Sometimes the truth hurts like hell, but it's what sets you free. I don't regret uncovering everything. I wish I'd done it sooner, but at least now I know the truth. I'm not the foolish guy who believed in fairy tales anymore. I'm the guy who finally faced the betrayal, took control, and decided to move on. That's what matters.